If you hear this one thing, know this. Making art is not about making art. Oops, maybe one day I'll get really good at this. Okay. I am in my studio and I brought a cup of hot tea in my favorite mug. An artist made this one. And I thought I could read to you something that I wrote about creativity and about how I learned something extremely important. So I wrote a little essay, and while I read it, I'll be painting, and I hope you like it. About 13 years ago, I discovered something about creativity that has helped me through every single difficult season of my life. And I learned it in a very unlikely place. I learned it when I was sitting in a mom's group, holding my brand new baby in my arms. And the lesson was this: when life starts to feel really heavy or dark, the thing that helped me the most was giving myself a project. And strangely, the harder the project, the better this works. Because when something takes over your brain, when you're thinking about it, even when you're away from it, your mind finally has some place to go. And I first discovered this completely by accident. About 13 years ago, I was sitting in a mom's group with a new baby in my lap. All of us were holding these tiny babies, trying to figure out this completely new season of life. The woman next to me was in the middle of a very difficult time. And if I'm being really honest with you guys, so was I. New motherhood was very difficult for me. Each week we showed up and sat next to each other, sharing the struggles and the small joys of new motherhood. Around that time, I discovered something that was helping me in a really strange way. During nap time, I would sit and rock my baby while he slept at my breast. And while I was sitting there, I started watching people paint on my phone. I missed painting so much, but I felt like my arms were never free. I would watch them mix colors, slowly build a painting, and figure out their next move. It was magical. I was completely taken away, completely absorbed in their process. And something about it brought me this deep sense of peace. I would look down at my baby, this brand new little creation in my arms, and then I would look back up at someone creating a painting. Creation all around me. And I would feel this calm come over me. But nap time also carried a lot of pressure. I had to get that baby in that crib so I could get some stuff done. And if you're a parent, I know you know exactly what I mean. It was the only time I had to run around the house and do all the things that couldn't get done while I was holding my sweet little baby, this sweet little baby who was only happy in my arms. But something had to change. I could feel myself slipping away. I was not the same person anymore. So one day I made a rule for myself. The first 20 minutes of nap time had to belong to drawing. I dug out an old sketchbook and I found some colored pencils and I sat down at my kitchen table. I told myself, this doesn't have to be perfect and I don't have to finish anything, but I have to sit down and do this. It is a non-negotiable. And this little ritual became a total escape for me, a place where my mind could rest, a place where my mind wasn't occupied by diapers and dishes. My mind could just roam free. The simple act of drawing in my sketchbook every day was a place that I could remember who I was outside of being a mother. So one day, I told the woman at the mom's group sitting next to me all about my little project. She was burping her baby on her shoulder while I explained my 20-minute drawing rule. And I asked her something. I said, what do you like to do? What makes you feel really good afterwards? But it has to be something creative. And she sat there for a really long time with this blank look on her face. And in that moment, I felt completely seen. She was feeling exactly how I was feeling. We were getting lost. She said she couldn't think of anything. So we just sat there in silence and we played with our babies. And then after a few quiet moments, she said, I really love to play my violin, but I haven't played it in probably 3 years. So I encouraged her. I think you should try to play it this week. I think you should give yourself 20 minutes a day to play your violin. 3 days later, she sent me a text. And I was surprised to hear from her because we didn't text. We just saw each other at playgroup. She told me she pulled out a book of music that she hadn't played in years. And she went down deep into her basement so as not to wake her baby. And she played during nap time. She said that she was trying to work through a song. And it was really hard, but it was incredibly satisfying. And she also told me something else. She said she could feel the weight lifting off her shoulders every time her bow went across those strings. At the time, I didn't fully understand what was happening. But now, 13 years later, I see it a bit more clearly. I've learned a lot about myself over the years, just through the act of creation. But there's one thing I want to share with you. When life feels really dark and heavy, I know exactly what I need to do. I need to choose a project, and I need it to be a really difficult one. Something that takes all of my brain power while I'm working on it. And something that keeps working in my mind even when I walk away from it. Because when a project is hard enough, your mind finally has somewhere to go. Somewhere where you won't be ruminating on your thoughts. If you hear this one thing, know this. Making art is not about making art. Sometimes it's how we find our way forward. Over the years, I've made work during every season of my life. Seasons of joy, pouring happiness into every single brushstroke. But I've also made work during seasons of grief, confusion, and exhaustion. Creativity is not only fueled by joy. It can also be fueled by the mess of life, the mess of being a human. They are both fuel. I was recently talking to my friend and I was telling him about how I was going to be making this video. And I was kind of like lamenting and like talking about how I feel really nervous to share more of myself online. I obviously share my art, but I very rarely sit down and talk freely and openly like this. We dug into it a little bit. Well, why am I feeling so nervous about opening up like this? And I said, it's because the art that I make looks so joyful and soft. But it's joyful and soft because those are the images that I want to live with. The world is so hard and it's so frightening. I think just like me, a lot of people are looking for a soft place to land. And painting has become that place for me. So not only is it my work, it's also my comfort, it's my calling. Creation has changed my life completely. I think back to that moment in that mom's group all the time now. Two tired mothers holding these new babies, talking about drawing and violins. Neither of us realized it at the time, but what we had discovered was something so simple, but so powerful. When life feels heavy, sometimes the best thing you can do is give yourself a place to go, a project, and a problem to solve, something difficult enough to take over your entire mind. And I wonder when the last time was that you gave yourself over to the process of creation. I'm not talking about making something good or something that you show off on the internet, but something just for you. Just letting yourself disappear into the work. Something interesting happens when you do that. Your mind finds some place to rest. Creativity becomes a refuge. And I think that's one of the best gifts that art gives us. Because sometimes the way through something is simply by making. Thank you for joining me today in my studio. I hope you have a really great day. Make something beautiful.